There we go.
Recording in progress.
Okay, so we're just going to take a few moments and do our breath work. We know that part of the ability for us to co-create together is just to bring the energies together. We're creating our own community right now of heart and soul, spirit, light, and love. And we just ask that each of you in your own way take a moment with that nice deep breath in of relaxing into this moment. And as you breathe out, just let go of any stress of the day, anything that's been bothering you, troubling you, just let it go for now. Breathing in the willingness to work with your own personal financial energies, what that means and what it truly gifts us with. And as you breathe out, release anything that you have that may be holding you back with financial flow and abundance. And then just see before you this incredible, beautiful wall of water running down the wall. It's a living wall. It's an endless source of the beautiful fullness and continuous water flow. And if you have in your own personal experience been experiencing limitation when it comes to finances or abundance, just allow yourself to see the wall increasing the flow. The beautiful wall of water is endless. You look to the left, you look to the right, you look up, you look down. There's no beginning and there's no end. It's just one continuous flow of crystal clear, pure, life-sustaining and maintaining, energizing and blessing water. And just see yourself reaching your hands out, your beautiful healing hands that each and every one of us possess. And allow your hands to let the water pass through them. Feel the water touching, moving, cleansing, purifying. Just feel the flow of the water. Now we're going to use our breath and take the feeling of the water that is in our hands, that healing flow, and breathe it up both arms into the heart. Allow the heart to be filled with the heavenly waters of life force and flow. And allow the heart to overflow with the healing waters. And as the overflow begins to energize and fill your entire body and being with that incredibly healing crystal light water, just know that it is comforting and soothing, cleansing and purifying every organ, every system, every cell, every part of your being. And as the level of water rises up within you, see it moving all the way up into the brain, into every cell of the brain, awakening your awareness at a much higher level than ever before. Cleansing and purifying anything that would limit you or restrict you from being fully awake and aware. Just let the healing water cleanse and purify, moving freely, flowing effortlessly, rising endlessly. And then just see the water fountaining out the top of the crown and washing down over your hair, your head, your body, your being, your skin, your soul. And just know that this anointing that is taking place in this moment is offering you an opportunity to open up and expand beyond any realms of what you might have created for yourself as a limitation. As the water continues to flow and purify, you may see layers shedding away. You may see colors bursting out and moving out of your auric field. You may see fine images or symbols just moving through and out. Just be thankful and grateful for whatever purpose they had within you is complete. And it's okay to release them to the heavenlies, to the universal light of transformation. All that is within you is designed to love, the purest kind of love, the most powerful kind of love. Comes through compassion and care and a sense of gratitude and thankfulness for each and every part of who you are. And as we walk away from this moment, this vision, and this quest, just know that something inside of you has now been opened up or awakened to a higher purpose with a deeper connection. And that's what expansion in the universe is. We expand our awareness by deepening our connection. And it is love that holds it all in place and keeps it all functioning with the force of the light of love. Okay, so we just open our eyes and we're going to start the journey into financial freedom. And to actually begin the process, again, it's continuously taking us back to the initial creation where there's an in-breath and an out-breath. It's breathing in everything you need to succeed and then breathing out anything you don't need, anything that doesn't serve you. It's up to us to keep the flow. It's up to us to cleanse and clear. We have the power and we have the ability. Within us, we are the Alpha and the Omega. We are the God force. We are that energy and essence that provides everything that is needed. From the first thought to the very last breath, everything is provided according to your request. So if life has been less than fun or has been mostly challenging, just be aware that that is actually part of the process this time as we clear and clean our karmic energy field. Part of that process is bringing us to that state of grace where we allow ourselves to be abundant. We allow ourselves to be financially free. There's never been anything that stops you except you. You're the only one that can stop you. So if your tap has not been running at full speed, just take a moment and see yourself turning the tap wide open. What's the worst thing that can happen? You might have just, a wave of love that you can surf on. Not so bad after all. Don't take on that sense of, I'd be overwhelmed if I had, all the finances I ever needed. No, you'd get used to it pretty quick. You'd adjust. I think we're all going to be okay with that. So I'm going to do a little test. And the test is that for the most part, as healers or those who are community oriented, we are incredible givers. So I want each of you to just for a moment, imagine there's something in your hand that you want to give to the world. Doesn't matter what it is. Just imagine that you have something precious, sacred and holy in your hand that you want to give to the world. And now, once you have established that gift, I want to see your hands reaching out towards me and the gift. Reach your hands out. Okay. So what I notice immediately is that everyone has their palms up. In order for that to work, something would have to be taken from you. Sound familiar? How many things have been taken from you that you had deemed precious and holy and special? In order to truly give something, it is given with the right hand, and the palm is down, holding the sacred thing that you can let go of as soon as someone reaches out for it. There's no conditions. There's no rules, there's no laws, there's no limitation. It is given with all your heart. Now the left hand is palm up, so that when someone is giving you something, you can't take it unless they let go of it and drop it. And that is genuinely yours. That is energetically a gift with no conditions and no strings attached. So keep that in mind as we're working with the alpha and the omega, the beginning and the end, the letting go and the receiving of finance. Because you're going to be surprised at how we have mentally thought we were doing one thing when emotionally we were doing the opposite. We were conditionally giving, and the moment it was taken, we felt either offended or resentful. Even though you thought you were giving it, it had to be taken the way we were presenting it. So yeah, that was a tricky one that God played on me too. That was one of those moments. Okay, so with the programs that we've developed in our mind map system, and I have dropped it in, but maybe do you want me to put it on the screen so that you can see it? Would everybody prefer that? And that way,
and this has got it all printed.
That's the initial mind map. That's not the actual. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to show you the mind map or the destiny map that we're going to be working with tonight. These are the ways that I have been shown we do require healing when it comes to finances. And this is actually not just limited to money. This is also our abundance. And the amount of abundance that you have in your life is going to depend on how balanced you are in the different areas of life. The challenges come in when we have things that are from the past that we don't realize are present in our life and in our world. So we're going to do a little bit of discovery here, and you can identify for yourself maybe some of the things where you have some healing work to do. I am available for anybody that wants to, get some assistance walking through it, but I'm praying that the end of what we're doing tonight, you'll have a very good working concept of how to help yourself. When you can help yourself heal, it just feels so much more special than having someone else guide you through it. Although we should never be afraid to ask for assistance either. So find your balance in that. So with financial healing, we're going to start working with the concept of work that I am familiar with, and that is body code and emotion work. With this, it works very much in breaking old patterns that are inherited. We hold them within our body, every cell, every system. When we have an experience, we know that it gets recorded inside of us. And until that recording is either reviewed, corrected, or reconnected elsewhere, it's going to keep running a program inside of you. So this can happen through injuries. It can happen physically, mentally, emotionally. We can be in a car accident. We can be in a situation where something traumatic happened and our body is recording all kinds of things at the same time. These have huge effects on our organs. They will actually take on the energy of the shock, of the trauma, of whatever took place. There is an organ inside of your body that will take it on. The different organs being the liver likes to take on things where anger is involved. The kidneys like to take on issues where sadness is involved. The spleen will take on grief. They're very much able to take it on to keep the flow of your body moving forward. In other words, they're part of the life force system, your emergency system, that will try and eliminate and expel as much as it can of that energy trauma. Some are successful in completing it and getting it all out. For the most part, unfortunately, if we're not consciously aware that we've taken it on, we just park it. So the organs will start parking things as much as they can until we have a chance to address them. The longer you live without addressing them, the more the organs are stressed and get congested. So that's one way of working with injuries and moving those along through code work. Limitations. We are innately or specifically born with certain limitations that we bring with us. That's part of our karma. We can inherit limitations, which means that somehow through the generations, it's something that's been passed down and passed down and passed down until someone in a generation, which is us, decide that they have the capability or the spiritual maturity to address it and heal it. So the inherited part can also be brought forward. Acquired limitations means something that you have taken on yourself in this current lifetime that can limit the flow of energy. And wherever there's a limitation in flow of energy, you're going to find it affecting your finances on some level. And then, of course, the wonderful karma. The most human form or pattern that we run with when it comes to karma is trauma, drama. Trauma, drama, karma. Trauma being injuries, drama being emotional stress, and we're building our karmic pattern or program that we tend to run with. And the other one is memories. So memories can be on the conscious level, they can be on the subconscious level, but we're now recognizing the significance and the power of the collective conscious when it comes to enough people holding the same vision, the same limitations, the same poverty concept. When you look at the planet right now, you are witnessing the view of the collective conscious at its accelerated and excessive rate. Poverty on the planet is as high as it has ever been, and it's all coming from us. It's not being done to us, it is being done through us. So being able to correct that within ourselves, what we are consciously aware of, and getting into the subconscious. The difference being, when you look at our life challenges, specifically healing when it comes to finance and abundance, we have about 1 to 5% of the issues that we are actually conscious of. The rest of it is all subconscious. So it becomes extremely important for us to be able to work through different therapies and methods and getting to subconscious programs running. Once those are released, then we are free to manifest in the now and keep it clear. So the gift that comes with this lifetime that we should be really thankful and grateful for is that we have the ability to clear our karma and keep it clear. It is our responsibility. And going forward, when we clear ours, what I see through the code work is that genetically, it goes back through your ancestors and clears it through them as well. It also goes forward and will clear it through your children and their children and any further generations. So the work that we're doing in this time is extremely important to the abundance and the flow and the prosperity for the entire planet and the human race. That's some big work. Okay, so part of that process of clearing takes us into past life regression. And a lot of people tend to feel somehow that it's going back and reliving what you went through. And I have to keep reminding us, it's not about reliving it. Or anybody that wants to do it that way is like, no, once was enough, thank you. I don't want to relive it. I might want to revisit some of the moments that were defining moments that changed me and my life forever. Since that point, that defining moment was significant. I may want to revisit that moment so that I can change it. And that we have the power and the ability to do through our therapies and help through healing. So wealth is something that comes through various forms. It can be simply a fortune that you inherit. It can be done through birth or death. And if ever the word defining moments, those two are very definitely defining moments. Being born into wealth, you don't know that there is any other way of living. inheriting money by someone dying, it means that you had to let someone that you love go in order to have the inheritance or the abundance. And there can be some issues come up with that, where you feel you're not worthy of it, you're not deserving of it, or somehow you were responsible for it. So those are some of the little things that can catch us in our natural flow. Acquired wealth. And this is where we tend to feel, for the most part, generally hard work is the way we are told that you can inherit wealth or that you can attain wealth. You have to work really hard. And if you're not working hard, then the belief is that you can't get ahead or you won't be successful if you're not working hard. And that's an illusion. One that, again, by working through that and letting go of the idea that you have to work hard to be financially well off or wealthy is an illusion. The other way that we can acquire wealth is through investments. And it's pretty incredible when you think of investments, immediately our mind goes to, stocks, bonds, gold, silver, metals, Bitcoin in this age. Everybody's gone bonkers over Bitcoin. Investments doesn't necessarily mean money. Investments is believing in yourself, supporting yourself, using your creativity to express yourself is an investment in you as a soul. And if you are someone who is very artistic, but feels that you don't have time for it, or you're too busy working hard that you can't take time or the effort to invest in your own creativity, that is a way that you are limiting your flow, because it's through your creativity that opens up the energy. And it's that energy that attracts magnetically and magically the resources that you need to not just create what you enjoy, but to create other things that support it. So in other words, if you needed to quit your job to become an artist, most people would panic at the idea. But for those who have actually stepped forward and followed their heart and said, okay, my heart says I'm an artist and I'm going to quit my job at the bank and I'm going to stay home and create with my art. What ends up happening with that shift, when the faith opens up that you not only can do it, but you're willing to do it, all of a sudden the finances and the flow to support your artwork shows up in unexpected places. It's you opening a door for you. And the more you allow that to happen, the more your heart starts to sing and attract magnetically everything that you need, not just to provide for your art creation, but to support your life and your lifestyle. So that's an exciting part of learning how and what to invest in when it comes to our own soul. So the other part of past life regression, we can take you into, for those who are born into poverty. When you are born into a limited culture or a family or society that has no expectations, dreams, visions, or goals of being anything more than what they are, it's very hard to open up to the idea that life could be so much easier and better if you didn't have that limitation or that belief in poverty. Poverty can be inherited as well as wealth. The one is no different than the other. We can inherit poverty through birth and death as well. If you're someone who, was born into poverty, then that may be your programming, that's as good as it gets and it will never change. On the other side of that, you could be born into wealth and then somehow through a death, you end up in poverty where the person that provided everything for you is gone. So, poverty can show up in many different forms in many different ways. And again, clearing the concept of that, if it's in your genetic programming and in your blueprint, clearing that out is going to be important. So poverty can also come through misfortune. It can come through a natural disaster or an accident of some sort. It can come through a betrayal where you truly believed in someone's vision, someone's dream, you followed it, you contributed to it, you supported it in every level, both energetically and financially, and it fell apart. So we tend to record that as a betrayal, even though it was your heart that called you to the experience, and whatever it was for, somehow in its own way, it will bless you eventually. Can also be through the weather. We know right now that the weather is being used to create poverty, shortage, food shortage, quality of air, water, land. It's being used as a bioweapon. And unfortunately, that does affect the flow of abundance. So keeping ourselves in alignment with releasing any kind of fear of that happening, or any belief that they have the right to do it or that it should continue. It's really holding the vision of clearing it so that when we are clear, the weather clears. You'll find in war-torn areas, all of a sudden the weather becomes really volatile. Of course it does, because the energy of fear that everybody is participating in and contributing to is manifesting itself in everything, everywhere. So the weather is going to reflect that, and the weather is going to show up as very turbulent. You see it in California, where they go from we're being flooded out to, oh my God, everything's on fire. California is very much a place of extremes where it's all in or all out. And in order to balance that, people need to be able to look at their lifestyles and determine for themselves what they're willing to change, so that the flow of finance is able to help where it's needed and support those in need, at the same time that those who are able to create the wealth and maintain the wealth are willing to share. So balance has to come from within each one of us first, then within our communities, then within our countries. We're working on it. We're a work in progress. So programming and limiting beliefs, this is actually part of our biological computer. We've talked a little bit in different parts of our training sessions that our bodies are virtually a computer. They take on beliefs, they take on emotions, they create a program, and that program, when it runs consistently, becomes a belief, and that belief becomes something that is ingrained within us, so that it can be genetically passed down through generations. So that's done through karma, it's done through education. We know they've been working really hard in the last decades in educating our children into a form of, you don't really need anything and everything will be provided. You don't need to work hard, you don't need to do anything, just show up and it will be provided. Well, that will not create any kind of flow that people are going to really appreciate what it looks like when it happens. So our cultures, our different cultures can bring limiting beliefs to our life. We're born into certain ways of doing things, certain beliefs that belong to our culture. And we are here to also release and change those, because a lot of them are outdated. A lot of them are no longer relevant. They were wonderful aspects to bring us in the descent into our dysfunctional self. They worked really well for that. But when we start waking up, you start realizing, wait a minute, this doesn't really work well when I am setting my soul free and I'm living from my heart. These cultural beliefs and programs are limiting me in ways that I can no longer support. Well, the government, they're playing a huge role right now. And the government is actually a reflection or a mirror for each and every one of us, and what we've been willing to put up with, what we've been supporting, what we've been contributing to and participating in. We've all done that willingly. And the government has taken that now to the extreme, because the concept of government, when it comes to, we will take care of the people, we are responsible for the people, we will support the people. We know that that's not possible and it's not meant to happen. People need to support themselves. They need to basically be able to regulate their own life and their own ways of doing things in a way that they can still form community and get along. So government is on its way out. We will not have government much longer. It will all be brought back to the tribal system of every community will have leaders that step forward to guide through every aspect of rebuilding, every aspect of creating a communication system within the community that everyone's needs are considered, included, and supported. So that's a whole new world that's coming in that way too. We also have programming that comes from race. We know that that's a card that's being played hugely right now, that because you're a different color, you have different needs, you should have different controls, different limitations or freedoms. That is one that has been here almost since the beginning of time. It has run its course, it's no longer relevant, but it's up to the races themselves. And it doesn't matter what race you are, it is up to the race as a collective within that race to stop the programs, the fears, the judgments, and the disbelief in themselves. That needs to happen in order to create a greater flow within the community. That community has to fund itself. And when that community funds itself so that it is abundant and that abundance overflows, every community, when that happens, or every race, when that happens, all of a sudden they become incredibly generous. They want to share. They have a desire to share. They need to share. And that sharing comes from a place of love and not from you owe me or I owe you, or because we're different, somebody has to pay the price. That's coming to an end. So then we move to traditions. Even within our cultures, there are different traditions that we hold that are usually based on religion or government. And again, those are programs that have been brought forward generation after generation that are causing more harm than good. So we need to take a look at our traditions and really understand, is this a tradition that contributes to communal prosperity and flow? Or is this a tradition that supports limitation and exclusion? We really need to sort out so that traditions are no longer being used to separate, but they're being used to unify. And then, of course, religion, well, we all know the role that it has played and how much hurt and harm and hatred has been raised in our programming, in our limited beliefs. We did talk a little bit, and for those who might not have been part of that training session, we talked about the culture of the monks and the nuns. I believe at some point, each and every one of us have had an archetype or a lifetime where we've experienced the religion, where the concept of the monk being celibate, being a vow of poverty, a vow of chastity, a vow of silence, all of those vows that were taken and programmed into us in those times. When you make a vow, it is made for eternity. And words have power, and power can be recorded in a way that it is a limitation instead of a gift and a blessing. So if you feel somehow that in your journey, and some of you will resonate immediately when we talk about the monk vows, if you have made those vows in a past life, it is essential that you go in and relinquish the vow. Only you can do that. It's something that has to come from your heart and your awareness of your heart opening up to what is more abundant and flowing and free. And it is up to you to be able to relinquish that vow. So again, if you need help with that, I can certainly, show you or guide you through that process. And I know there's several others in here now that can also do that. Okay, take a breath. We're getting there. So archetype, it's a concept that has been worked with for quite a while. A lot of different psychology programs, people who have been exploring the deeper mind and the greater consciousness have come up with the understanding that in our journey as a human being, we tend to go into all of these different archetypes at some time or another. We all play every role, and we will play it from both sides. In other words, you can be the teacher, but it's also you've been the student. You can be a mentor, but you've also been someone who needed guidance. You've been a warrior, but you've also been a victim. Lawyers are typically those who have been able to take the concept of laws and distort them to get away with things. But there's also lawyers that have used the laws to help people and free them. So these archetype discoveries that we have within us, and each of us have played these roles. You've been an investor. And it doesn't matter whether you're an investor that invests with money or you've been an investor that invests with ideas and concepts that you've given away freely to people. That can happen too. It doesn't always have a happy ending, but we've all been able to do that at some point. The preacher, the one who likes to stand in front of others and tell them how to live, but not necessarily live by that law. Well, we've been both the preacher and we've been the perisher. It's something that is required by our journey, so that when you play both sides of every role, that in the end is what compassion is built from. So you can genuinely say, I have been the preacher, but I've also been the person who sat in the pew and listened to someone else tell me how to live and how to spiritually have a relationship with God or not. When we have played both sides, we tend to be less judgmental and we are less fearful, because we know now how both of them operate, how both sides of that work. The doctors are notorious for being those who can save lives. But in this time, when we see what's coming forward to clear karma, it's actually the doctors that are killing more people than anyone else has ever done. So it's a dual role, and at some point we have played that as well. The builder is someone who can bring community together and create magnificent things, but they can also be the ones to destroy things. You can build things that are made of materials that are not ethical and do not stand up, and ultimately people end up being destroyed or killed because you built something that didn't last. A farmer is someone who is notoriously known for creating food for the family, providing things that the community needs. But the farmer can also, as we are seeing in this time at the end of karma, they can spray all kinds of things on the food and destroy you without thinking twice about it. So again, check out that farmer within and where they're at right now. The gardener, again, the gardener has many ways of supporting community, but also the gardener has ways of creating things that are maybe not so good for us and providing that too. Caregiver plays both ways. Healer plays both ways. And of course, teachers. Teachers can teach you the most wonderful things of life, and we remember them fondly, but there's also teachers that have taught you not to believe in yourself and to feel inadequate and unworthy. So all of these roles that we have played, and there are many more, but these are just some of the main ones that I'm sharing with you that have the effect on the fundamental energy of flow. When those programs are running, the flow is intermittent. You can have the idea, but you can't follow through to completion. Or you can have the opportunity, but have a difficult time showing up to actually follow through. So these are all flow issues, energies, and systems that ultimately make life challenging. And we are here not just to clear it in ourselves, but to understand it at the level where we can then provide information and understanding and compassion for others to learn it too. So having said that, I'm going to turn the recording off at this point, and you can start popping in different ideas or questions that you might have that you would like to work with. So I'm going to close this. And I am stop share. And we will stop recording.